Hi everyone, I hope you enjoy this video of me making this Red Beach Ibanez Voyager body out of epoxy and olive wood from Bethlehem. I thought that was pretty cool. You'll see it here in a second. So on eBay I found a Voyager body made out of basswood for about $200. Humbucker setup. The RG Wizard 2 neck was about $300. Here I'm using some galvanized flashing I got from work as the mold template. Hot glue around it to make it watertight. I taped off every orifice that I could to keep the silicone from penetrating into the body cavities. So here I'm mixing up the silicone mold making material. Links to a lot of the items and supplies that I used will be in the description. So please go down there and look if you're interested. This is really cool stuff, and it was so easy to work with. I love how it's semi-transparent. And believe it or not, I didn't have to use any mold release agent on the wood. Okay, so this is 6 hours later. And it was ready to peel out. And I just want to apologize in advance. The vast majority of this video was recorded with my 2 GoPros on my head, so it does get a little shaky. I am definitely not a professional videographer, or luthier for that matter. I love how much of the detail was preserved. You can really see the wood grain from the body. So here I'm cutting those 5-inch pieces of olive wood down to 2 inches a piece. These are actually sold as pen blanks that you're supposed to turn on a lathe. And to be honest, I had no clue what I was doing here. I've had very little experience with woodworking and such, but I just laid out a grid and this is what stuck. So I decided to roll with it. And this part of the process took days. I would glue up, some of the sections. Then you have to wait at least 12 hours. Sand it, glue it, wait 12 hours. So that wood piece alone took easily 6 days. But it was worth the effort. So here I'm using Stonecoat's Art Coat. Just to kind of seal the wood. This art coat from stonecoatcountertops.com. It's really good stuff because it has UV inhibiting agents in it that keep it from yellowing over time. So here I'm applying the art coat to the bottom of the mold, which is actually the face or the top of the guitar, and the olive wood grid, just to keep it in place for when I do the deep pour. Okay, now moving on to the supercast from Stonecoat Epoxy. This stuff is meant to be poured, I believe, 3/4 of an inch to 2 inches thick at a time. It's meant for like epoxy river tables and such. So I have all these cups laid out, and you'll see what I'm doing here in a minute. I'm basically pouring out a small amount in each of the cups so that each of the mica powder pigments and the spray paint, color schemes are separated for now. And it's really cool to use Rust-Oleum spray paint along with the mica powder, because the propellants in the spray paint actually fight with the mica powder in some kind of way. It's hard to describe without actually, doing it for yourself, but they want to separate in just the coolest kind of way that makes for a great design. My countertops in the background on the left side were actually done this exact same way. Alright, now this technique from Stonecoat is called a dirty pour or an exotic pour, where you basically take all those individual mixed color schemes and you dump them all into the same bucket while mixing them as little as possible together so that you maintain, a very natural marbly type of effect in the epoxy. So this was about 30 hours later. Came out interesting. Now if you see the front of the guitar, the face, I was not expecting for it to be so, such a solid teal silver color. These olive wood blanks come with a little authenticity sticker that I thought would be pretty cool to include there. So here I'm adding the final layer of art coat, the UV resistant stuff. And the art coat is actually a lot stronger than the supercast. It resists scratching and breaking a lot more than the supercast. Here I'm trying to just push the epoxy into the wood grain as much as possible to minimize bubbles. The end product resulted in a lot of bubbles, but it's not a huge deal. This project took a lot of sanding. All the sanding that you see could easily be multiplied by 50. And that's how much it was actually sanded. But you can see here I accidentally sanded through that teal silver layer, and it turned out to be the happiest accident in the project. I didn't realize how thin the layer of mica powder had settled to the bottom, which, is actually the top or face of the guitar. But I was really happy that I did sand through that. the design underneath, you can really tell that there's some separation of the different mica powders and spray paint that I used. And that's exactly why I did it that way, to differentiate the colors. So here's another really thin coat of the Stonecoat Art Coat, just to kind of seal everything in again after all the sanding that I did. I'm trying really hard not to get epoxy into the tremolo stud holes there, so that everything's still within spec per the blank body that I ordered. Now I'm using a torch to pop the bubbles. And I've used this router probably about 4 times in my life. But even though this little hiccup happened, I ended up being able to salvage this body. So after a change of underwear, I just kind of routed it out without recording it. I'm sure you can imagine how that went down. And it was pretty cool because I was able to just basically copy all of the holes and spacing from the other body. So it took very little research to know what the heck I was supposed to do as far as spacing everything out. Embarrassingly, this is also the first time I've ever used a drill press. Yeah. Here I'm using a Milwaukee M12, basically wireless Dremel tool to finish cutting the pickup selector slot out. Here I'm just drilling all the holes for the wires and stuff, you know, grounding to the bridge and pickups and all that kind of stuff. And I'm really just winging it here. I've never so much as had a neck off of a guitar, let alone built one like this, so it was quite the learning process. Here I'm just using a tiny belt sander to smooth out those router marks. Just giving it a final sand in preparation for clear coat. Now for the 2K. Realistically, you're supposed to, spray a coat of clear, let it cure, wet sand it, then spray another coat until it's, glassy smooth. But I was just so impatient, I wanted to play this guitar. But it's okay. I think it still looks great. Little editing magic there. There I'm wiring in push-pull volume pot so that I can split the coil on demand. This was terrifying here too, you know, because you have to snug the neck down onto the body, but I didn't want to crack the epoxy, but it worked out just fine. And I gotta say, you know, this body, it went together so smoothly. I hardly had to do any finishing touches or, you know, adjusting, sanding. It was a very great experience. Yeah, it was that part that I realized that, wow, I actually have this. It's an actual guitar at this point. It's not just an art project. You can see those splotchy areas on the covers. I was kind of upset about that. I wasn't expecting to reuse those, but oh well. These Planet Waves auto snipping locking tuners are pretty darn sweet. I was pretty lucky to find that truss rod cover plate that matched the body so well also. Here I'm just using a bit of CA glue and activator to adhere the springs that are gonna keep tension on the pickups, because I'm not a big fan of the pickup tension trim rings. Here I'm installing my favorite pickups ever. I have a PAF Joe by DiMarzio in the neck and a Saturate by DiMarzio, both made for Joe Satriani, in the bridge. Joe's tone and style is so amazing because, you know, he can play really beautiful and melodic, but he can also play really fast and crazy and tear it up. And in case you're wondering, that is a genuine Ibanez low pro edge tremolo, and this is the final product. And up next is the sound test. This is actually a demo of my band, and the song is called Lady of Winter. We are called Monstradamus. So if you guys would check us out, that would be greatly appreciated. We're on all of the major streaming services. I want to thank everyone for making it through the video. If you'd like, please subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. Here we go.